Hello everyone, I'm Alan, also known as McLaren 2009, and today I'm back playing Stormworks Build and Rescue. I'm picking up where I left off in my stream yesterday, in which I'm going to be working on this. This is an improved version of my mobile maintenance facility. Basically, it's an all-around upgraded version of what I built before. And to start off, I want to save this as a template. Okay. Now, go back into here, and basically what this is it is an example using my templates of an inspired build of a mobile maintenance facility, similar to the ones that I worked in when I was in the Marine Corps. Hang on a second. Okay, it's still working. Okay, good. Alright, basically, I worked in things that looked similar to this in real life. However, the similarities between these and the real ones kind of stop after you get beyond the outside. Because the ones that I made in the game have a lot of things that the ones in real life do not have. But they're just loosely inspired by something that actually exists. So, today we're going to take this thing that I built yesterday, and I'm going to populate it with my Avionics systems. So, in case you don't know, avionics is aviation electronics. So basically anything that goes inside of some kind of an aircraft that controls something, be it a radio actually flying the aircraft, all of those things, all avionics. Could be wires, could be microcontrollers, could be circuit cards, could be anything. My specific area of expertise is communication, navigation, cryptographic systems, and deceptive electronic countermeasures. Now that's a lot of things, most of which doesn't apply to Stormworks in the slightest. But the rest of it, I found a way to make it apply. Alright, so let's go in here and let's take a look at what we've got. Built one that way, two that way, two this way, but this way is a little bit special in that I used my big, like, double wide passageways. I don't know what I'm going to do with this space, so we're just going to make it up as we go. Is it that color? It is. Okay. Okay, now let's load the template, and let's put the exact same thing in there. I realized at some point last night that I forgot to put a step right there, but it's not the end of the world. Alright, so go back to the Avionics Work Center, And we got to figure out how I want to lay this out. Generally, I would try to do something along the same lines that I did last time, where I would try to group similar systems together, but I haven't decided definitively what I want to work on. But if I keep to how we had it set up in the shop that I worked in, I would probably turn this into like a equipment room of sorts. I don't know. I like hearing things. Alright, so I probably want to close this off and put in like a door. We had a curtain, but I could probably put like a door here. That would probably be cool. Alright, so erase that. Okay, so let's go up here. And we go up here. Change those to dark gray. Oh, and that also means... Oh, no, that's not messed up. Okay, so that's good. And then we have this right here. Alright, so we gotta go right here. Alright, let's paint the walls a different color. The other side can stay white, but the inside I'm making this kind of like charcoal color. Okay, but we need a door. So let's shove... We want it to be in the middle. Alright, it's not going to be in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to use a sliding door facing that way. And basically this is going to be our troop van, if you will. Or at least that's what we would call it. Paint the inside of this, kind of like that charcoal color. And then we go down here. And... Alright, so it's just right there in the middle. Is that right? Yeah, it's two from the sides. Okay. Basically, I have like this weird thing about making everything uniform, sort of. so I go out of my way to make sure it looks sort of presentable. This way we have a kick plate, so you can walk in between both sides with no problems. Alright, and we're going to put basically just personal equipment in this one. That seems like the move and the way to go. So how about equipment on this wall? Should be this color. Yeah. In fact, we can get rid of all of this. Okay. But the problem with doing that is it creates a problem right here. Alright, so now we have this wall like this. So let's put some clothing on this side. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Undo that. And let's put Arctic survival clothing. Why not? It's going to be a minute before I actually get to doing anything with avionics equipment. Got to do the otherwise pointless cosmetic stuff first. Let's also put in firefighting equipment. And diving equipment. This is Stormworks, by the way, as we already know. Alright. Let's do green, green, green. Charcoal. Alright, good to go. Okay, so let's put a welding torch right here. Put an underwater torch right here. Put a fire extinguisher right here. And then for these things, they are going to get flashlight, radio, those sorts of things. Alright, where is radio? Okay, good to go. Radio there, radio there. And then we gotta go in and make this all green. Okay, so we have one side with a decent complement of personal equipment. So, easy day. Then, we gotta make sure it's all connected to electricity. Okay. Let's just connect this. Good enough. Okay, as you can see, we've already got breakers on both ends, fire extinguishers on both ends, and then this is just stuff that you might need doing your job normally. Okay, so we'll go into here, and this one is going to be, how about survival equipment? So this is going to be like your beacons and beacon locator systems. Alright, let's do... Probably just needs to be that big, give or take. Alright. So, transponder locator. Transponder. And this one needs to be a buzzer. As much as I've played this game, I don't remember where everything is anymore. It's really weird when I have to actually, like, find something. It's even more upsetting when I actually have to, like, type it out because I can't find it any other way. It's always something, like, weird. Like, say, the physics flutter, for example. I'm not 100% sure I could tell you where the physics flutter is in the game. Alright, let's go... Okay. Now, in case you're wondering what the idea is with this thing, I want to make this look like a test set. Because if you've never worked with avionics equipment before, you can troubleshoot it on the plane, but you're very limited in what you can fix. So you would take it out of the plane and you would send it to a logistics squadron like the one that I worked at. And we would take the box and plug it into a test set that simulates all of the same things that the plane can do, but we just simulate it so that we can see if it's working properly. So, what I want to do is make a test set for the beacon location system. Matter of fact, we can keep that red. Not overly worried about it. And the idea is that you have like a place that you can take your possibly damaged or broken equipment, and we can open it up and find out if it is broken, and then we can find out what specifically is broke, and we have like a whole procedure and a system where we find what's broken and we replace it with something that hopefully isn't broken. So, in this room, I'm going to put the things that relate to this. Just locating transponders. So, either this, or we'll also go next to it, and we'll put like let's do it this way. As a matter of fact, let's put some more space there. Alright, now for this, not transponder. And signal locator. This is still like the weirdest piece of equipment in the game. Like, I know it just beeps, but that doesn't make it any less weird. You know what, let's put that right there. Change this to this color. Alright, so we have vehicle beacon locator. Matter of fact, let's change that also. So, vehicle beacon locator, handheld beacon locator. We've got both. Easy day. And then, how about we put something on this wall? What other equipment do we got? If we also put survival equipment in general in here, I could put flares. Not going to put night vision in here because we're going to put that somewhere else. So how about radios? Let's go right here. You know what? What if we put these? so we've got radios. How about some flares? Okay, we'll grab flare gun. Flare gun ammo. Just regular flares. Then how about glow stick? Strobe lights. Yeah. And then that'll be like visual representation. Okay, so we got some glow sticks. Alright, and then we have counter space for things like publications and weird stuff like that. So this will be all survival equipment. But since it wasn't in the game when I made my original one, but it is in the game now, let's replace one of these with a, where is it? Radiation detector. Alright, so now we gotta get all of that stuff connected to electricity. You know what? That's actually a straighter shot. Let's do it that way. Okay. Oh, okay. Battery A. Okay, good to go. Alright, but there's one slight problem. We need to go and put a microcontroller. Alright, let's start by connecting this up. And we need to modify this. Like that. Okay, so basically I had this in place, but there wasn't anything to actually use it. So we had to put something in place to use it. Alright, so this is currently our survival equipment room. Now, what do I want to put over here? If I do it exactly like I did my old one, I would put radar in this room. But that also creates another problem. You see, the way that I did the old one, I had to put the antennas and things on top of the mobile facilities, and I don't want to do it that way. Because I still want the ability to stack things on top of them, even if I'm not necessarily going to do it on this. So I gotta decide how I want to go about doing it. Like, in the real work center, this would be where we would have publications, like the manuals on how to fix everything. Because it's up front and in a conveniently located spot that everybody goes to. But the way that I built this, it kind of feeds out into this area. Not really sure. Alright, what do we got as far as... Got cameras, radios, and then as far as my systems go, got lots of radios, maps, alright, what I'm thinking is I might put, like, the radar and stuff in here. In one of these. So I'll probably put, like, a map display in here. But I'm thinking I might try to put radar in here. And then I think I'm gonna put night vision in here. So exactly what I did with the other one, I'm gonna do with this. I'm gonna close this off completely and turn this into night vision. Then I gotta put something in here. So that's gonna be interesting. Yeah, I think this is going to be night vision. I don't know what this is going to be. Okay. My computer is being a little bit weird. Alright, so my microphone's still responding, still playing the background music, it's just quiet. Okay. I'm going to save, just in case. Okay. So, yeah, I gotta figure out what I want to put in the different parts of my simulated work center here. I think I'm gonna do a map in here. I need... Okay, so I need this right here. Rotate that around. I need one of these. Out. Let's change this to down. And let's hope I didn't do this backwards. None. Okay, now we go down here, grab our little map display. Oh, actually we have one more problem. We need to erase this. Because we need a GPS display, or we need a GPS panel, or GPS sensor, which is this right here. And then we gotta go right here, and we need a compass sensor. No, compass sensor, not ball. This thing. And that needs to be this color. This is currently the front of the vehicle, so that's the way we want facing north, or we want... You want to make sure they're all facing the same direction, if that makes sense. Alright, so we gotta go right here, and we grab this. Okay, so we gotta grab this. X, Y, compass, power. Okay, if I did everything the way that I was supposed to, and I probably didn't, I should be able to turn this on. There's a slim chance it could be the other way around. Oh, no, we're good. Okay. So, it works. But the really cool thing is I can use this as a building point, or I can use this as a starting point, and I can add more stuff to it. So I don't need to fill every square inch of every one of these compartments. I can leave space to expand and add more stuff in the future as the need arises. Although, if I'm gonna have that, I should probably have a set of compasses and things like that. I kind of wish when they put this stuff in here, even though a lot of this is all like handheld equipment, I kind of wish that like the guns and ammo and things were put into like their own special category. Okay, so we go right here. I'd say it's going pretty well. I'm basically just, I'm making a new Avionics work center. Because it's not like I won't use the guns and things. It's just when I'm looking for like a radio, I don't want a hand grenade. And then it also helps that since not everybody has the Search and Destroy DLC, I don't build too many things that are using the weapons unless I'm specifically making something that's supposed to be armed. most of my creations are for people that don't have guns. So, like, I may not necessarily need, like, the body armor, EOD suits, rifles. I don't put those in a lot of my creations. In fact, when you look at the stuff that I have on the workshop for Stormworks, anything that I put, or anything that is armed, I specifically put the letters S and D in the top left corner of all of my thumbnails, specifically indicating that those creations have weapons. But you'll notice that most of my creations do not have that tag on it. So, if I make this into, like, GPS testing, this is survival equipment, this is personal equipment. I don't play it as much as I used to, but I do still play it. In fact, I saw that you guys were playing it, I want to say yesterday, maybe? I wasn't sure if you were doing like a convoy or anything like that. Haven't played it in a little while. In fact, I actually moved my steering wheel. I had to push it away from my desk because when I was doing one of the VR games where I was standing up, I accidentally like pushed my steering or the folding table that I have my wheel set up on, and I almost knocked it over. Yes, I do know that it works in VR, but it's kind of weird. Like, I have both American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator. I only streamed American Truck Simulator because I have Euro Truck currently set up to work in VR, but it's such a royal pain to stream it, I just never bothered. But I want to leave that one in VR because it's really cool to play in VR, but the only one that I actively play on stream has been American Truck. That and the fact that since I was a truck driver here in the US, my experience is with the type of material, or with the types of vehicles in ATS versus ETS. Alright, let's save this in case my computer decides to start being weird again. And let's spawn this in. And then we'll go over here and check to see if those empty spaces are lined up properly. It appears that they are. Oh yeah, I haven't really done anything mod-wise with it either. Actually, it seems like for most of things, I generally don't mod a whole lot. Nothing against it, I just don't do it. Alright, so what I'm thinking is I think I'm going to use this space right here, since it has like this big, massive, like opening bay door. I might put like a radar antenna on a pedestal, and I'll just put it right here. And then I can put the consoles to control the radar antenna over here. Or I could put it next to it. In fact, this is kind of pointless. Yeah, that's what I did. Basically, with American Truck Simulator, I had a mod for realistic truck stops. So, like, they replaced all of the in-game ones, and they replaced them with Love's, Pilot, Flying J, TA, basically the real ones. And then I had one that I was using for a little while, but then at some point it caused like a conflict or something, like it broke a save or something, where I replaced the default trailers with real trailers from real trucking companies. And that was pretty cool. But if you've been on the road for any amount of time, you can look at the default ones they've got in the game, and you'll instantly know what real company they're making a parody of. And pretty much at a passing glance, you can recognize anyone that's Swift, Schneider, JB Hunt, Western Express, Heartland Express, CR England, CRST. You'll notice all of them. All right, let's put radar in this room. Matter of fact, let's change that. I have a wheel, and I also have a shifting lever with also a kind of knockoff knob that I got on Amazon that allows me to use the high and low gear ranges and a splitter switch. Basically, it allows me to properly simulate using an 18-speed transmission, even though in real life the only thing I've driven is a 10-speed manual. So we just had high and low gears, but no splitter. But it's worth noting that on my CDL, I do not have a K restriction. I absolutely can drive a manual truck. The school I got my license through, they did not want us starting out with a restriction. So they only taught us on manuals. because if you're not tested on a manual, basically right out of the gate, you're going to have a limitation on your license. If you were only tested with an automatic, you can only drive an automatic. You are legally prohibited from driving a manual because you haven't been tested showing that you know how to do it. If you want that restriction lifted, you have to do the CDL examination again with a manual. My first vehicle was a Toyota Tacoma. I wanted a manual, so I got a manual. Well, my first time successfully driving a manual vehicle was when I got my motorcycle license, and then driving a manual car. My first time was in a truck. My dad had a Cooper Mini that was a 5-speed manual, but I wasn't very good at driving it, and I kind of failed miserably at it, so I never learned how to drive stick until I got my CDL. So I learned how to drive a stick shift with a tractor trailer, and all tractors have asynchronized transmissions, so they're harder to drive. But if you want to learn how to drive a manual, if you start with a truck, you can legitimately say, if it has wheels, I can drive it. If you know how to drive a manual truck, you automatically can drive a car. However, the inverse of that is not true. Just because you can drive a manual car does not mean you can drive a manual truck. You'll have a better idea of how it works, but you don't know how to do it by default. So if you start with heavy equipment like trucks, tractors, stuff like that, and you can run those successfully, you can easily hop into any manual car and just go. Like when I went on my vacation over to Romania last year, I had a rental car when I was over there. Didn't end up needing the rental car, but I had a rental car when I was in Romania, and you might not know this, but over in Europe, most vehicles are manuals, so you would have to pay extra if you wanted an automatic rental car. Well, I can drive a 10-speed truck, I can drive a 5-speed car, so no big deal. I'll just get the slightly larger rental car. So I had this Volkswagen Passat, I want to say. It was actually really cool, and I can easily drive it, even though I hadn't driven a manual car successfully ever, because I have the experience with trucks. I could just get in and go with the car. And manuals in general are pretty cool. It's just, it's very annoying in stop-and-go traffic. I mostly notice it on my motorcycle, but driving the truck for my class, it's not fun in rush hour traffic. Although you guys over there in Southern California have way worse traffic. At least I think you guys are in Southern California. I could be wrong about that. I don't think I've ever actually asked. Alright, this is 4. Okay. Oh, the middle of it? Oh, okay. We had one of each. That is the worst idea. You get used to one, and then you need to use the other. Either you press the brake as a clutch, or you forget to shift. Well, you, with that... Alright. I'll talk to you later. I'm gonna keep working on this, Avionics work center. Yeah, with the tractor, you can't really mix up the brake pedal and the clutch because you have to. Well, there's some debate as to whether or not you have to, but you're taught to double clutch, so you clutch neutral, clutch gear, and you do that in quick succession. And then there are 2 different levels of the clutch. You have, like, just applying the clutch so that you can shift gears, and then there's, if you fully depress the pedal all the way to the floor, you have the clutch brake, which basically applies a metal friction type brake inside of the gearbox itself to, like, freeze the shaft in place. And if you if you accidentally use the clutch brake while you are moving, you're gonna shear that brake, and it's gonna be a bad time, and they are expensive to replace. Basically, just don't do that. Don't do that, and you'll be fine. Alright, so let's go right here. If we go right there... Alright, now this should be everything that I need to put the... this has to be white. Because if it's not, I'll have to change the backlight colors, and that's just annoying. It's a really simple process to do it, it's just annoying as all hell, and I don't like doing it. And then we need to go down here, and I need radar controller. It's not as big as I thought it was. That is not what she said. Just want to throw that out there. Okay. Oh, I gotta remember, how does it work? This is kind of like the problem. If you take a break from playing this game, you forget how the systems work. No. So you gotta go back and get like a crash course in your own systems. Radar. This thing. It is... Oh, that's right. I gave it a zoom function. It took so many iterations to make this damn radar work like it's supposed to. Basically, the way that it's set up right now, I have it so that you can press a switch to zoom in and out with the radar screen. It just took like so much work. Hello, welcome to the stream. What I'm working on today is yesterday I replaced my old Avionics work center and I built a brand new one so that I can put my showcase for my updated systems and equipment in it. And I'm doing good. How are you doing? And so far, I haven't really accomplished a whole lot on this stream. I kind of got distracted, and I've been going off on like tangents, talking about various things that may or may not even be remotely related. And so far, I have successfully closed off this door to make like an equipment storage / what we would call a troop van. I made this into like a survival equipment and distress beacon location room. Then I go over here. I made this into like a GPS testing area. And now I have this area, which is like a triple wide area. I have this turned into a radar test area. What's the point of everything? Like, the point of the game itself? Basically, the point... Oh, the point of my build. Alright, so... I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was an aviation electronics technician. I worked in a type of mobile maintenance facility that's similar in concept to what I made in this game. And basically, I didn't have any particular reason to build this. Yes, I am. In fact, that's going to be in here at some point. Well, several months back, it might even be years at this point, my memory kind of sucks, but I made an older version of this. In fact, I can show it to you. Let's save that real quick. And let's go right here. I made this. Spawned it in. It's really simple. This was loosely inspired by the type of facility that I worked in real life. But, as we've covered in my stream yesterday, the stuff that's in this is kind of outdated. Most of it has been replaced and upgraded and just made better. So I wanted to make a new version. And the thing that you're asking about, the thing that's kind of like an Enigma machine, we go back here to my ComSec locker, and that is this right here. These two panels form a secure data transceiver. Basically, it can take any 6-digit number on 10 composite channels for a chosen radio frequency of a parent radio system, and it replaces those 6-digit numbers, be it positive, negative, whatever. It replaces those 6-digit numbers with a completely different 6-digit number, and then transmits it across the game world to another vehicle with the system, where if they are on the same key setting, they will decrypt that number and convert it back into the proper intelligible number that it's supposed to be. And like you said, that is, in a very, very rough, simplified form, that is what an Enigma machine does. Except it doesn't just replace numbers, it replaces letters too. But it uses like a rolling cipher to replace one symbol with another symbol. And it works wonders, and it's really hard to break it if you don't have the key for it. But that's enough of that. Let's go back into my Avionics work center, and let's continue hardwiring a radar system. Any actually useful vehicles? Yes? I guess it really depends on what you consider useful. Like, this is my current vehicle collection. I've built a lot of trucks, a lot of trains, built planes and helicopters. I started playing with the weapons and mounting hard points. I've started building, like, missiles, bombs, air traffic control systems. I've built ships in the past, but I haven't built any recently because they take so long to finish. But I've built a lot of things that serve a lot of different purposes. It all depends on what specific type of thing you're looking for, and then we can find out if I've built it. Now, I will say that the things that I do build may not necessarily be the most pretty of things, but they do work, and they work quite well. In fact, not too long ago, I had somebody ask about one of my, it was either on a tractor or one of the trailers. They asked if I wanted to use the standard that is on the workshop. It's like a standard of interchangeability between tractors and trailers. And I looked at the standard that they have And I was immediately like, no, I'm not going to use their standard. I like mine better. As arrogant as that may be to say, I like mine better. Because my tractors and trailers actually differentiate between the tractor brake and the trailer brake, and theirs doesn't. Yeah, sorry, I don't really have... I have one moderator, and he might not be here at the moment. So I have to mostly stick with the auto moderator, and it's kind of sensitive. But yeah, I like my systems better. Like, I go through like a painful like R&D process where I have to make sure that anything that I want to put onto the workshop, I want to make sure that it's up to the same functional level that it should be at. Like, specifically, that secure data system that I was telling you about, it took so long to make that because I never realized that the specific world seed that I had for my game, it had my base, it spawned in the first quadrant on the map. And the reason that that's important is because in the first in quadrant 1, the X and Y coordinates are all positive. So I found out by flying one of my other vehicles out of that quadrant, it was always sending the wrong number even with the key. So I found out the hard way that my system could not handle negative numbers. So I had to pull it from the workshop until I put in a system so that it could actually account for positive and negative numbers. It took me so long to find that problem, but it's fixed now, although the counterpoint is it doesn't like zeros, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not like game breaking, so I'll probably just leave it alone. Actually, let's start by getting these connected to electricity. Okay, now we have radar, control panel, not necessarily. If it works well, I will leave it alone. But some things, like specifically this radar controller, it's been a long process for the entire time that this has been on the workshop. I want to say this is like its 5th iteration at this point. If you look at the change notes specifically for my radar controller, you will see that this has changed a lot. Like, for instance, I found out, actually it'd be easier just to show it to you. Radar rotation, altimeter, target monitor, radar monitor. Okay. It'll be much easier to just show it to you. Give it a second. Because this is a very complex thing, even though nothing's in it yet. Alright, so open up the door. Because in real life, you... In real life, you don't want to be standing next to a radar transmitter ever. It'll just fry you from the inside out. But that's another thing. Electromagnetic radiation aside, turn on the radar, or you turn on the system. We've got our little monitor here. We turn on this, and it's just spinning around. It's kind of going crazy. As a matter of fact, let me fix that. It needs to be, should be 0.6, and put that down to 20%. Okay, so, give it a second. Let's go back in here. You'll look at this screen right here, and there are a couple of things that you'll notice about it. Like, when it actually does show up as something is being detected, you'll notice that the dots they weren't always in a position where they appeared where they were supposed to. Like, I had this weird bug where it was putting the dots on the screen ahead of where the current sweep is, of where the antenna is actually pointing. And the dots were in the wrong place. Then they would appear longer than they were supposed to. Then they were moving when the real object wasn't moving. So then I had to go into the system and find out that, oh wait, I needed to put a pulse logic block in there, and I had to connect it to the position of the antenna so that when it detects a target, it has to send a pulse so that it activates the memory registers for that distance, or that facing that distance, and draw a dot there. But it was so unbelievably frustrating. Like, I hated this system for like the longest time because it just refused to work. And then for a while it was kinda like I put it on the workshop and then I would put like a disclaimer in the description being like, there are a couple of like ghosts and glitches in it that it may or may not be 100% accurate, so do with that what you will. But then I figured out what it was doing, why it was doing it, and it doesn't do it anymore, and now it works. So now I'm actually happy and proud of this system, but it wasn't always like that. Alright, that's radar. So it's not so much a matter of just leaving something alone and just kind of like letting it rot. You kind of have to go back and you keep checking on the things that you put on the workshop. Like, you look in here and specifically the trains, because I found out the steam... They fixed the steam locomotive wheels, so they actually go faster now, like they're supposed to. But I had to make some changes to my actually good steam locomotive. And basically, I just had to add more stuff to it. Like, there are some things that I've built that they're so old and outdated. The only way to fix it is to replace it completely. Like, for instance, we go all the way back to the beginning of this nightmare. If you look at, like, my old helicopters, more than likely, they won't be changed anymore. They're probably as good as they're going to get. Like, this one probably sucks. Like, it's really not a particularly good helicopter. And you go back to my last ships. This version 4 that has or they both have a helicopter on it, but the version 4, it was updated to use more digital displays, more remote controls, more avionics and tracking type systems. It actually has like a collapsible mast that has a crow's nest that you can actually climb up into it. But I'm not going to update this ship. Actually, now that I've said that, I probably will. But as of right now, you can see right here, it was updated back in 2021. January of 2021. If I were to load this in, like if I were to go down to the dock and spawn this in, you would see that like half of the things that are on this ship I don't have anymore because the systems are so like outdated and honestly poorly made that the only way I can continue to use this ship is if I just gut it and put completely new things in it. Like, I would have to strip out all of the electrical stuff, all of the control systems, the engines, the transmission. I would truly have to gut it down to nothing in order to get it up to the standard of the things that I'm building now. Like, even things like planes, for example. You go back here. I gotta remember, when was the last time I actually worked on one of these? Actually, it's more recent than that. Oh, and actually that's a good thing to do in this game in general. I found out that you can save like prefab templates that you can just load up and paste them into your creations. Saves you a lot of time. But actually I did have to work on my planes because I was using I had my own jet engine controller, and it was kind of bad. Like, I didn't have the PID tuned properly. So, if you put it above 35 RPS, it would sound like a machine gun's going off, and it would have zero power output. So I had to replace the jet engine controller in all of my aircraft. But if you compare, like, this, you compare this plane to my very first decent-sized fixed-wing aircraft, this is leaps and bounds better. I'm not particularly happy with how, like, the windows for the cockpit look, but this is infinitely better than... Is it... this right here. This was my first attempt at a fixed-wing cargo aircraft. This does not look particularly good. But you compare that to this, and you'll instantly see I've made significant improvements. Like, the actual flight deck looks loosely like a flight deck. And then I have, like, this is just the template version of it. So I've got a lot of empty space that I can just shove anything I want in there. Or I can do like this, and I made my first successful AWACS plane. I'm really proud of this one. And apparently a couple other people on the workshop seem to like this one as well. Even though still the nose doesn't look the best. I'll give you that. But it's actually a pretty solid plane. And I have all of my avionics systems in here. I've got weapons lockers, parachutes. And the really cool thing is, this entire thing is completely sealed, end to end. This is completely watertight. You can crash this into the ocean, and it'll be fine. You won't be able to take off because you're going to drown, you're going to flood the engines, but nevertheless, you can do a water landing on this and be fine. It even has landing gear. Now, you might point out that the landing gear is kind of small compared to the aircraft, but why would you ever need a waterproof AWACS? You wouldn't. But if I show you some of my older planes... Let's start with this one. This one is not waterproof in the slightest. I have robotic pivot doors. The ramp is just a robotic pivot. The only thing that's sealed on this entire aircraft is the space underneath the floor and the flight deck. Everything else, if you crash this into the water, it's going to the bottom quick. But the cool thing about this particular plane is it was the first one that I made with the expressed purpose of carrying shipping containers. The 11 by 29 shipping containers that are in the game by default will fit in this thing. Granted, I had to make my own personal containers to use the cargo rails, but this plane was built to carry containers and small vehicles. It was superseded by this, which its propulsion system's a little bit weird and leaves a bit to be desired. Like, it's essentially a turboprop, but you don't even need the propellers. It'll move itself just with the jet engines. But you can turn on the propellers because they're already piped up to work, so you might as well use them. This was the first first plane that is also completely sealed end to end. So instead of robotic pivot hinges, I mean, it has them, but they go to these little these little ladders that go up into the cargo hold. This was another weird thing that I started experimenting with. These are medical beds. You push these buttons, and a bed pops out of the floor that can heal you if you get wounded. You go back here, you'll notice that this also has the same absurdly large cargo bay that can fit shipping containers. And then you go back here, we have a ramp that's still on a robotic pivot, but right here is a completely sealed, watertight custom door. So this, with the way that physics works in Stormworks, you can crash land this on the water and it'll be fine. So I made it so that my plane can survive a water landing. And then you go back to this. This is not the template base model. This one is actually an airliner. Once again, probably doesn't look the prettiest, but there's one thing to note about all of my creations. They may not look the best, but did you notice there are no XML edited blocks? There aren't any, like, absurd, complicated logic things. They're all relatively basic, simple vehicles that aren't very complicated. So you can use them even if your computer isn't the best. So, like, yeah, I have my branding decals that I've made. But there's not a lot of logic. The systems are relatively easy to use. You don't need to actually be a pilot in order to turn this thing on. Like, it's literally as simple as... In fact, it would be easier just to show you. Let's not go in that way. Let's just do it this way. Page up. Or no, home, not page up. Let's just go into the... right here. Home. Go onto the flight deck. You want to make this thing fly? Turn on avionics, turn on hydraulics, turn on fuel. Wait for the engines to start up. Boom. We're done. You go over here, sit down, panel lights, landing lights, nav lights, leave the parking brake alone. And everything is good. You can take off in this as it sits right now. Everything else is a little bit more complicated and harder to explain, but this plane is flight ready. And where are my fuel? Oh, right here. These are the fuel tanks in the wings. My stuff is easy to use. You can tell it looks like an airliner. Not a real one. And the proportions are a little bit fuzzy. Like, the landing gear is the smaller one. I should have used the bigger ones, but they would have been too big. The engines are a little bit small, but there's not like a middle ground. You either have the little one or the huge one. I need something in the middle for this size aircraft. Yeah, it's like, I think these engines are just too small. Like, they just don't look right. I feel like there should be a medium-sized one. But maybe I'm just weird. There is that possibility. Alright, so let's go back to my Avionics work center, because I keep going off on tangents talking about random things. I don't even know what I was trying to do. Like, I was hoping that I would make some progress with this thing. And almost get it up to, like, a passable point. But this isn't going on the workshop for a very long time. Because so far, the only things I've done is I've built a troop van, a survival equipment testing area, a GPS testing area, a radar area, and that's it. And as you can see, I have a lot more things to fill in. Although, with that being said, that could probably be what I work on next. Let's go over here to ComSec. Might as well populate it with the secret squirrel stuff. Because that seems like the move at the moment. I know, leave that. Alright, it needs a 2x3 monitor. Actually, this right here should be enough for it. Put that right there. Okay, I need... Did I really work on trains before or after I made this thing? No. Advanced IFF, radio... Alright, I guess I didn't make... No, wait, no. Alright, save the Avionics Work Center. Load this. Copy this. Load this. And we gotta put this in the back. Now, the thing that I'm putting in right now is the upgraded version of my Secure Integrated Navigation System, SINS. It is a combination GPS, tactical air navigation system, identify friend or foe transponder, radar, transponder and beacon locator, clock. It does all kinds of crazy stuff. Alright, and the reason that this has to go in here instead of outside is because this one, as you can probably tell by having secure in its name, this one is secure by default. The old integrated navigation system is not secure by default. This one has the encryption system built in. So, if anything is going in the ComSec locker, it's definitely this system. Now, I started putting this on all of my military aircraft. Let's see. I need a clock. Matter of fact, let's put the clock up here. What's going to be interesting is the fact that I have to put a radar antenna back here because this system also uses a radar antenna. Alright, where is this thing? Because it needs both of those. Because in order for this to function as a test set, to kind of go off of what you asked earlier about what's the point of all of this, it kind of serves two purposes. On one hand, it is a functional example of all of the systems that I've made, or at least most of the systems that I've made. So it is a functional working example of those systems, which is nice. And then it's also a stylized functioning example in the sense that it's built to resemble a testing apparatus that you would use to troubleshoot a system like this in real life. So, like, this type of system, if it broke on the plane, it would go to a work center that looks something like this, and they would plug it into a solid testing bench or apparatus, and they would find out what's wrong with it. So, not only in the game can you walk back here after you unlock the door, you can walk in here and see what this system looks like when it's set up and working properly. You can also get an idea of what it would be like to work on this system in a facility such as this one. Alright, I know it's in here somewhere. Oh, it's freaking huge. I forgot how big it was. Alright, well, that's a thing. It's like, that's something I'm gonna have to deal with. Yeah, as far as microcontroller goes, this one's not very micro. Alright. So we gotta... I really don't want to do this, but it has to have a GPS sensor, it has to have a radar antenna. Alright, well, the GPS sensor can go down here, but I need a place to shove the radar antenna. And I don't want to slap it on the top. That just doesn't look good. But I only have one designated secure facility. I mean, I could easily slap on another one, but at what point does it just start getting weird? Good luck with that. I was enlisted, so I don't know anything about that. Good luck learning how to fly. Alright. Alright, so how do I want to do this? Because I could just put it on top, but I just don't want to. However, what I could do is if I don't put it on top, what if I put it on the side? Let's change it to this color. Yeah, right here. And let's go... Alright, so in theory, what would happen is if a radar antenna broke, you would take it to the same place that has the, or you would take it to the area with the radar test set. So you wouldn't take it to the secure area, you would take it over here. And you can use this to troubleshoot the radar antenna. But in here, I guess realistically you wouldn't even use a radar antenna for this. This part would just be a simulator. And it would just be built into the test set for it. But that's another thing entirely. Alright, so we need GPS. That can go right there. Matter of fact, let's get rid of these. Let's put them somewhere else. Oh, and then those things can go right here. Okay. I have a solution. Okay, we need a buzzer. We need a clock. I need to adjust this thing. Oh, no, that's fine. And we need one of these. And in case you're wondering, yes, all of these things are part of this. And actually, it's about to get a whole lot worse. Because these are all radio systems, and this specific thing requires 4 radio antenna? Basically, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this. Oh boy, that means I gotta do that too. Alright, well, we don't need the giant ones because there's just no point. I can just put the little ones. Okay, not that little. We'll just use the large ones. Okay, see, that works. That doesn't look bad. I can deal with that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's get this party started. Alright, so we've got that set up. Now let's start hardwiring it in. Radar, touchscreen, control panel, 2 control panel. Alright, let's do TACAN over here, IFF over here. Alright, and that's all composite. Oh, forgot the altimeter. Because this is an aircraft system, so it has to have an altimeter. Clock. Compass sensor. X. Y. Alright, okay. Well, this is why I do these things. Oh, wait, no, this is not the ground side. Okay, we're good. Crisis averted. Alright, the thing that I was about to lose my mind about was the fact that this system is designed to be mounted on an aircraft. There is a comparable system in order to actually communicate with this. You need the air traffic controller side of my advanced IFF system in order to communicate with this. And in order to in order to set up that system, that requires not 1, not 2, but 10 radio antenna in order to set up the system. And I briefly worried that I was going to have to set up 10 different antenna for this system, but no, this one just needs 4, 5 if you count the radar antenna. So, mental breakdown averted. Alright, I need... Alright, this is receive... Alright, transmit's on the left, receive is on the right. But the thing is that it's very important that I get the IFF and TACAN frequencies assigned to the correct antenna. And the reason for that is the TACAN one can set any of 100 transmit and receive frequencies. The IFF system can only send and receive on 9 frequencies. So, the way the frequency layers work in the game, it's not like a frequency bandwidth like with a real radio. It's more so like numbered layers. Kind of like in a photo or editing or video editing program. So it's kind of like that. TACAN transmitter. Okay, so let's change this up to 0.6, 0.6, bring that down to 20%, spin clockwise, put this on 2, all the way up. Okay, good to go. Alright, now, in theory, that should be everything set up in order to use that system. So, let's go spawn it in. Should be this one? Although in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to matter in the slightest because the door's locked. So I gotta go over here. Okay, system power. Do I have it backwards up there? Nope, it's right. I don't even know my way around my own work center. And I made this thing. Okay, so that's zoom in, zoom out. GPS 2, we have our altitude. We have our bearing, which is correct. Let's turn on transmitter A, B, and C. And then we go right here, activate the radar. Ah, it doesn't have a target screen, which is a little bit weird because I thought I put one of those in there. But I need to go back to this screen because we need to turn on the distress beacon. That's working. It's beeping. Alright, so we have the beacon locator on, so let's go up front, where we have this, and we turn this on. So now this transponder is active, and that buzzer is beeping. So then we go back here, not here, went one too far. It's blinking, saying that we are very, very close to an active transponder. Alright, so basically, it works exactly how it's supposed to. But, in order to fully test it and make sure that it's all doing what it's supposed to be doing, I'll have to build a new... or I'll have to pick one of the other mobile facilities, and I will have to set up one for TACAN and one for IFF. And then I'll be able to see if they are properly encrypted and doing what they're supposed to be doing. Oh, and then... Alright, yeah, that's TACAN. That's IFF. Okay, so all of that is good. But, as you probably already know going into this, this is not my only secure system. I have more. So, this is going to get interesting. So, next, I want to put in... Alright, this is going to be a problem. Okay, it's working again. In order to use the system, I need 2 blocks, so 5. This right here is going to be secure video. Okay. So we go right here. Alright, because there's a channel select, a pin select, and a power switch. And that's literally it. Okay. Alright, one's going to be a transmitter, one's going to be a receiver.